Well, first of all, I want to thank the Parrish Art Museum in Tomashi for this opportunity. And certainly, it was a great experience being a part of the project. Um, for those of you that know that, you know that I'm Bonnie Cannon. I'm the executive director for the Bridgehampton Child Care and the Recreational Center. We have been incorporated as of back in the 1950s. Our mission is that we are a historically Black, community-based organization who serve all Easton marginalized children and families. That's what we've been doing for the past, what would that be? Many years, 50 plus years. Um, the picture, we're going to talk about a lot of things that we have there about the closing the equity gap, workforce training programs, need to teach sustainable tools. We're going to talk about that, but it all folds into the history and a lot of what Richard Junie Wingfield has said. Um, I was born and raised in Southampton. I lived on the Hill as well, graduated from Southampton High School, and was fortunate enough to go off to college because I knew that when I left Southampton that I wanted to go to a historically Black college university. That was very important to me, so I went off to Howard University, and I got my degree there as a management information systems. I went on to be a programmer and an engineer, regional manager for one of the Fortune 100 companies. And you could have never told me that I would ever come back. I said I would never come back again because of the fact that, I just wanted to get away and to learn much more about my culture, which was something that was missing. And I knew that there was more out there. But I wasn't I really didn't understand that part of my journey was that for me to go away and then to have to it was my assignment to come back to pretty much to instill and to support the community here. So this is the Bridgehampton Child Care and Recreational Center. This building pretty much has been there probably back in the 1940s, maybe 1930s. And we have been in that building up until last year, doing work out of that building up until last year. We're located on the Sag Harbor Turnpike, and all around us, you have the South Fork Museum, you have the Children's Museum, you have the Town of Southampton's building next door, and you have beautiful, wonderful houses all and down on Montauk Highway on that Sag Harbor Turnpike. And this is the building that we were in for those many years. Out of this building, though, the work that came out of this building is incredible because you had many educational programs similar to with the programs that Junie spoke about with the South Fork Council. You had educational programs, you had college prep programs, you had Vista volunteer programs, you had workforce training programs, reading literacy programs. You had so many programs there that was instilled right here in this little building. And this history for the Bridgehampton Child Care Recreational Center, how this came about, was that, as Junie had said, they're migrant workers. Migrant workers would come up from the South and they would work on the farm fields. And one day, there was a couple that went out to work. They left their kids pretty much in a chicken coop. And while they were away, it was either chicken cook or coop or it was a house, but they left them because they had to go to work. And while they were away, the lantern overturned and the children died. And from that, the community pretty much came together, and there was a house that was donated, and then actually was a white doctor that pretty much donated 6 acres of land, which we are still on now. And they said that, and there used to be this house and a barn there, and they said that this would forever be a safe place for children. And there you have the Bridgehampton Child Care and Recreational Center. Out of tragedy, the community came together. Many times out of tragedy, sometimes it takes tragedy to make individuals to pretty much see and to realize what's important and what the priorities are and how we all should be loving each other and to come together and do the right things. So out of that tragedy, this is how the Bridgehampton Child Care and Recreational Center came about. And there were many other directors. I've been there now for about 15 years, but there were many other directors that came about prior to me being there. And as you will see, and this is why we say that it's a historically Black community organization, because you'll see that many of the children for our youth program, and we still have that building there. We have 4 buildings on the 6 acres. Um, and you will see that it was this is the road there. Not a lot of buildings or anything that was happening back then. Am I doing something wrong? Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. And so you can see the building there that we have there. And right now we're in the process of building a brand new building. So that building was torn down, but this is where all the action took place. Now, I like this. The interesting thing about this is that when you look at this picture, and I'm like Junie now that I want to walk around. So let me get a mic. Pass me a mic. Okay, can you hear me? When you look at this picture, the interesting thing about this is that that was back in the like the 1970s or something of that sort. You see the children working on the computers, they're studying, learning with a tutor. And what's interesting is flashback then and flash to now. And if we were to take pictures now, you would see pretty much the same thing, except for the computer is now a laptop, and we have Wi-Fi there. But at the center, we have always, which always is a question that I always have is, a lot of people say, well, the people of color, us Black and brown people, we always want things given to us, or they always want things given to. That's not the case at all. We've been teaching ourselves and having programs like this for ourselves for many years, instilling and educating and making ourselves better for many years. These programs exist. A lot of people don't even know they exist. We call the center the diamond in the rough, because out of the center, out of things that happen like this, you have individuals that have gone off first family, generational families going off to college, individuals going to Geneseo, to American University, to Morehouse College. So many alumni have come out of that little house that was there, and now are doctors, are lawyers, are teachers, are principals, are figures within our community. So, all of this has happened out of this little house right there, and it's still happening. That is the amazing thing, is that it's still happening and it's still standing, and we're still instilling into our community. Um, I just want you to look at that, because again, as I said, that was back in the 1970s probably. And now here we are in 2021, and we're still tutoring. We still have the SAT prep programs. We still have the college prep programs. We just started an initiative called Teach Me How to Fish, workforce training initiatives, because there are other alternatives other than college. We are teaching our kids how to do to become software engineers through a IT technology software boot camp. I've had one graduate that graduated out of that program. We have 5 more that are coming. The one that graduated, whose parents lived like right down the street there, um, he has now been placed on a job with LinkedIn as a software engineer developer. So the thing that I like about this is that through grassroots, we are still building our community. You see all of these panelists here, the things that Minerva is going to talk about, the things that the Shinnecock Reservation is going to talk about. All of these are grassroots organizations. And that tells you and that confirms that grassroots organizations make a difference and have been making a difference for many, many years. And we are not only are doing this, but we're telling our history. We're teaching our kids our history, our culture. And also we're making not just our kids, but the entire community. Because I think that it's special, it's definitely needed to also educate everyone. So a lot of people, they say, oh, well, this is just for the Black and brown kids, or no, this is for everybody. Because it's important that everyone learns our history, learns our culture, get involved, and that we have something called a Thinking Forward lecture series, basically where we deal with the inequalities of the Hamptons. Right now, there's a meeting taking place at the Center for the Inequities of the Hamptons. These are those types of conversations that happen when you see those little houses that were back then. Those are the type of conversations and things that are happening in those little buildings. So that's basically, I could go on. I really could. I could go on. Um, and these are just some of the pictures of the individuals that were way back then. So what's key here is that when we say it takes more than just one person, it takes a village. Part of what we do to be successful is that we have to have seniors involved, everyone, not just the young and the young adults, but seniors are also a part of this and a part of how we enrich. So we just, we don't push away our seniors because they're rich. Judy, I was just talking the other day regarding, and this is a program that I want to do at the center, because on the Hill, not only did Mr. Johnson have a farm, but everybody had, I mean, not a farm, but a garden, but everyone had a garden. I mean, that was just a natural thing to have a garden in your backyard. My grandmother had a garden in her backyard. I mean, it was nothing. You just walk out the door. She said, "Go get me some tomatoes for the salad, or give me some tomatoes. I'm gonna make a tomato pudding." You go 3 or 4 steps, get the tomatoes, and bring them into her. So it's amazing now. I mean, it's wonderful now that we have all of the organic gardens and the interest in vegetables and the farms and that. But this was something natural that just happened every day in your backyard. And I still say that, that's something that we can recreate. It's not too late. We can recreate gardens like we used to do. So, this is just showing the seniors. So go to today, and today we still have seniors that are involved in our programs. At the center, we have a 90-year-old, an 80-year-old, a 70-year-old, and I believe a 270-year-olds that are running our food pantry. They pretty much are there on the grounds. They're needed there on the grounds because there's wisdom. They have wisdom. And not only are they working in our food pantries, but they talk to the kids. The kids learn how to respect them. That's where we got our respect. A lot of people, when I talk to them, and if they're older or whatever, I automatically just say Miss Jane, Miss Sue, Miss, because that was instilled. That was a foundation. We learn manners. We learn how to respect our elders. You know, it just comes. And some people say, please don't call me. You know, just call me Larry. And I'm like, I can't help it. You know, I've been doing this for all my life. You're my elder, so I have to say Miss so and so, or Miss at the center. The kids, when they talk to the teachers, is Mr. Robert, or or whoever, Miss Bonnie. So we teach them manners. We teach them pretty much, all of that comes from at the center. And I think I'm almost finished because I think let's see. So here again is the center. This was a few prior to COVID. Oh, see my mom, and she's actually a certified teacher. You see Mr. Robert, Miss Shanae in the back there. The young gentleman in the back with the maroon on, that's Justice Johnson, who is now in the Marines, second lieutenant, I think, and he also has his pilot license. So these are the individuals that come out of that little house there. So I just tend to think that for our history and for us to be successful, you have to have grassroots organizations that are doing this type of work. And you have to look at the history and to recognize the importance of all the work that the grassroots organizations do. And I'm happy to tell you that, I went back. We're finally tearing down that building. In this new building, which we're looking to move in this year, is going to be a computer lab room, a steam room, a mini recording studio, a kitchen. We'll have private tutoring rooms. It'll be a Wi-Fi campus. And it'll be the adequate resources that we need to really service our kids. If we could do what we did back then in that little house, just imagine what we're going to do moving forward. So I just close up to say, I talked about the center because the center pretty much is very important to me, but I talk about it because that's a part of my life, but it's a part of my life because of the experiences that I experienced growing up, the experiences that I experienced being on the hill, being able to walk around the hill and, be safe, knowing everybody there and knowing that basically if I did something wrong, that if my mother wasn't there, Miss Madeline was going to tell my grandmother that something happened, or my grandmother was going to tell that something happened. That's the kind of environment that we lived in. And basically when the street light went off on the hill, you needed to be home. Riding your bike there, growing up in a village where we can walk around and pretty much know not just the black people, the white folks as well. They would know you also. I mean, that's what I grew up in. And that's what pretty much instilled, and then having the opportunity to go away to college, come back, and to teach and see what I've seen. All of that makes a difference. But it's the history. Our culture is rich. It's important. It's a part of the fabric of this community. It's what's made this community. And it's the people back then in that little house that made what's happening today. So I hope that what I've said has been somewhat impactful to you. Thank you.